Hello, everyone. Welcome to a just chatting episode of Comic Book Breakdown. This is my cat's butt, Konark. When he was a kitten, he liked to sit on my shoulder. And now that he's a full grown adult male cat, he still wants to sit on my shoulder. And it's not as easy as it used to be. So he's going to be with me until he decides to GTFO. All right, how's everybody doing? I'm a lot less tired than I have been the past couple of weeks. Um, God, I feel like so much has happened. So much has happened since the last time we did a Just Chatting episode. I believe it's been since the start of Aquaman, so it's been over 20 something weeks since the last time we did one of these things. Wow, that kind of boggles my mind. Probably since my wife and I's vacation in Washington D.C. would have been the last time. Yeah, we all right back there? How's the back of my head smell? Smell good? Thank you, go. So anyways, what's been going on? I have been up to so much lately. So I've spoken before in the Just Chatting episodes that money's been tight recently. It's been really hard for me to work on comic collecting at all. The money just hasn't been there. My wife and I have been in a position where we make enough money to cover bills and eat food, and that's been it. Anything else just wasn't going to happen. There was no putting money away. There was no getting ahead on credit cards, anything like that. Yeah, you can see how shocked my cat was there just now. And I thank you for hitting the microphone with your tail. And I knew that eventually something was going to happen. Pico, something was going to happen that was going to require more money than we had access to at the time. And finally, that thing did. I walked out to my car at one point, I don't know, and there's a nail in the tire. And don't get me wrong, the tire's not flat. The tire is not dying every 30 minutes. But it's a problem that's going to need to be taken care of eventually. And I don't know. And so I have been job hunting for months, trying to find something better than my current retail hell job. And I haven't been able to find anything that pays better at all or offers at least steady hours. With my background and my work history, it's going to be incredibly difficult for me to find something that's better than what I currently have. I fully know that. That's why I've just been continuing to job hunt. And every place is either, hey, we want to pay you way less than you make now, but the trade-off is we'll work you more. You want more than 40 hours a week? We'll do 50, 60 hours a week at $12 an hour. How's that sound? And that just, I can't, I don't understand how employers think that sounds appetizing to anybody, much less a 40-year-old dude. So that hasn't worked at all. And after months of continuing to look and kind of knowing something's going to happen eventually that's going to require more money than I have access to, the tire thing happened. And I was like, okay, I have to do something. And I recalled ages ago, specifically last year, I had done research for the Halloween story, complete collection complete. I do not remember which, on somebody selling blood in order to make up money to buy more stuff. And I was like, whoa, that is a viable way of making money. You still have to claim it on your taxes, so eventually that's going to have to come out. But you can do that. So I looked into it and found the best looking place in where I live. And yeah, I am selling plasma 2 days a week. I make approximately $115 a week doing that on top of my already paying job. And that has helped a lot. I've been able to put away quite a bit of money for getting my tires eventually replaced, which has been a whole saga in and of itself, and that's not even finished yet as of me recording this. But yeah, so that's been a relatively easy process after my initial visit, going through they do medical tests to make sure you're okay, and they check your blood work to make sure you don't have any diseases or problems. They make sure that you don't have piercings or tattoos, or if you do, they're old enough anyways. And so yeah, they basically, they stick a needle in your arm and they drain your plasma out and put the rest of your red cells back, and then you can go about your business. And then this, according to the science, it takes 48 hours to replace your plasma, so you just need to make sure to eat, drink water, give your body a chance to rest and recover. And that has been the thing that has thrown me the most with this whole process. I typically recover pretty quickly from most injuries. Despite my physical size, I've always been a fairly active person for whatever reason. When I was a kid, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. My brother and I played outside a lot. Our first jobs were really like physical jobs, like hauling wood for my dad. My first paying job was baling hay for one of my neighbors. And as long as I've worked in retail, I've been physically unloading trucks, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 piece trucks, 2,000 plus piece trucks, 5 nights a week. I'm pretty physically stout as an individual. So it is a little surprising to have the plasma drain happen and just literally feel it like drained. It's perfectly inapt. It is the perfect apt phrase to describe how I feel afterwards. Like my physical appetite has super increased, which is always a bad thing for me because I don't really eat all that often. I have the metabolism of a Galapagos turtle. Like I can eat one solid meal and like I'm fine for a day because I've had to be on like starvation rations for so long. So I don't really worry about food most of the time. But when I have chosen to work out or when I've gotten doing this plasma thing, I need to eat. I need to eat. Needing to eat means either cooking more often or eating out more often. It's one or the other. And that has been kicking my absolute butt. I've been making sure to do it because I don't want to like die or have any permanent side effects from this stuff. But man, and they tell you like you're probably going to be tired, you're probably going to be hungry, make sure to eat and sleep and stuff like that. But man, it's one thing to be told it, and it's another thing to just feel it down to your core. So that's been helpful. Like I said, don't get me wrong. My lack of knowledge about buying tires for my car has not been helpful and led to a whole spadoodle, where I went on Walmart's website, and I went with Walmart because they had tires that were cheap enough that they were in my price range, but they weren't so cheap that they were absolute crap tires, right? They were a nice, not even median, but like just above terrible median, where I was happy paying the amount that I was going to pay. Purchase the tires, set up the appointment, go to get the tires put on my car, go to Walmart, and normally when you get like an oil change at Walmart, you just stand outside your car and somebody comes to get you, and I had made an appointment. So I was like, well, okay, I made an appointment. I'm going to go inside because I don't know what the deal here is, and it's like 1,000,000 degrees where I'm at, and I don't want to be outside if I can help it. So I go inside, and there's a line wrapped around the counter, and at the end of that line, there's an old lady standing next to a like make a copy of a key machine. So I walk up to her and I go, "Are you the end of the line?" And she's like, "Oh, technically, I guess I'm the end of the line, but I'm really just trying to get a key made." And I go, "Oh, okay, well, then I'll be the end of the line, and I'll just help you get your key made," because she was having trouble reading the screen. So basically, I would read her the prompt, and she'd make a key and so forth. So we get to the point where we wrap that up. And then as I move back into line and I'm waiting, I guess her husband comes back. Now that she doesn't need help anymore, her husband comes back. And she's telling him, "Yeah, this guy helped me, and it's printing a key." And the first key prints. And so she grabs the key, and I tell her, just so she remembers, I was like, "Hey, don't forget, you did the buy two, get a third key free deal. So you've got 2 more coming. So just, don't leave until you get them." And then she looks confused. And then the husband's like, "Well, why did you do that?" And she's like, "I don't know. I just did what he told me to." And I'm like, "No, I read out to you that there was a buy 2, get 3 free deal. And then you said, 'Sure, do it.' And I went, 'What? Are you sure?' And you went, 'Yes.' Like, that's not on me. That's on you. No. I'm trying to help you. Don't do that to me." But by now it's my time to walk up to the front. So I get up to the front and I go, "Hey, here's my name. I'm here to have tires installed in my car." And she goes, "Go stand by your car." And I go, "Thanks, Walmart, cool." So I go back out to my car. A guy comes out, asks for my information, give him my information. He goes, "Oh, you're having tires put on?" I go, "That's me." He goes, "All right, let me make sure we got the tires." He walks back in, walks back out, and goes, "Hey, man, I got bad news. You bought the wrong size tires." And I go, "What do you mean? Your website said they were the correct size tires." And he goes, "Well, the thing is, with your type of car, you can actually fit many different size tires on this car. The tires you bought do not match the tires that are on your car, and they're not going to fit. I work for retail. I understand. I don't work for Walmart. I work for one of their direct competitors. I understand that what happens on the website is not the fault of the employee in the store. But are you kidding me? So, okay, I guess I gotta return the tires and buy new ones. And he goes, yeah, man, sorry. And I go, yeah, that's fine. Okay, thanks. So I get in my car, text my wife. We were going to meet for lunch while the tires were getting put on. So I text her and tell her what happened. You want to get some food. We go and eat food. The food tastes like ash in my mouth because I'm just upset now and it doesn't matter. Now I gotta do the return, find properly sized tires, purchase those tires, get them still put on the car. It's just a whole nother thing. So we go and eat, tastes like nothing. And as we're wrapping up, I go, you know what? I'm going to stop at the comic store on my way back. I'm going to pick up some books, do a little emotional pick-me-up, and then I'll look into getting my refund. My wife goes, okay, I'll meet you at home. She takes her car, she leaves. I get in my car, and I take the back roads towards the comic store because I figure the back roads are going to be faster. The back roads weren't faster. I ran into every school bus system, and church that for whatever reason were letting people out. It took me almost an hour just to do like the 20 minutes to get across town. And so the whole time I'm just kicking myself about how frustrating the Walmart thing is. I get to the comic store and I start scanning the Marvel section first because Marvel's my priority. There are no new Marvel comics on the shelf. Nothing. Nothing at all. So I go, okay, that's weird. And I start looking at the DC books and they had one issue that I wanted to pick up for the week. I think it was the new Birds of Prey comic. And the girl at the register is like, hey, how are you doing? And I go, it's been a bad day. And she's like, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. And I go, it's fine. So then I get up to the register and I hand her the one comic and she's like, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. And I'm like, yeah, I noticed you didn't get any new Marvel books. Everything all right? And she goes, yeah, for some reason, we just didn't get our Marvel box yet this week. It is on the way. We just did not receive it in time for today's release. And I go, well, given how terrible my day has been, I'll take the blame for that one. That's my fault. I wanted new comics. I can't have those. So, don't. And she's like, no, it's not your fault. And I'm just rolling in misery at this point. I'm just like, no, it is. It's fine. Like, I'll take my one sad comic. So I buy my comic, come home, and then I start to process my return on Walmart's website, and I get to the finalization stage for it, and Walmart's like, in order to finalize your return, you will have to return your physical products to the store, which makes absolute sense, and it's how returns work. Well, guess who didn't pick up the tires that didn't fit his car when he left the Walmart on the other side of town an hour ago? Me. And I'll fully admit that this is my fault. They're my tires. I purchased them. Why didn't I pick them up? Why didn't I ask for them? I should have. But I will also complain that nobody at Walmart said, hey, man, before you leave, let me get you your tires. You're going to need them for the return. Like, what were they going to do with the tires? Just keep them forever from here on out? So upset at Walmart, upset at myself, more doubly now. I call the auto center just to make sure, and I go, hey, I'm the idiot who purchased the tires that didn't fit his car and then left them there. It says here for the return, I have to return the actual tires. Do I have to come to the building and physically get the tires to take them to guest services, or could you guys do that? And they go, nope, you're going to have to come get them. And I went, of course I'm going to have to come get them. Fantastic. Auto center closes at 7. I've got 2 hours to get there and move my tires. So I go back to Walmart, get my tires. And even then, I go to the auto center and I tell them, hey, I need the tires so I can go return them up to the register. And the gentleman working the counter is like, have you talked to guest services yet? And I go, why would I need to talk to guest services? I've already finalized the return. I just need to take my product up front and they need to scan a barcode and I will get my money back. He goes, well, you might not need all 4. You may only need 1. And I just stare at him. I'm like, just give me my tires. And he goes, yeah, tell you what, take a cart, go around to the side of the building. We'll bring the tires out to you. And I go, thank you. They load my tires up. I go up front, return the tires. It's not a problem. But it's just so frustrating. And it was every self-doubt, every fear of failure, every frustration just came to a head. Like, oh my God. And that's piggybacking off of recently at work. I live in Florida, and we recently had a hurricane on its way. And again, I work in retail, so I get to see all the hurricane prepared people coming through. And me and my group of like 5 or 6 people were all working in the chemical area, and it was just all of us in one area. It was just really cramped, and the store was just filled with people who were doing their hurricane shopping. And I kind of started to have like COVID-19 flashbacks because I got to work the whole time. Everybody else got to stay home, not me. I got to keep working the whole time. And so I started to have like flashbacks, and I started to get like a little panicky. So I found a chemical vehicle that goes on like the opposite side of the store, and I went, guess what, guys? I'm going to go do that one. And I just kind of separated myself from everybody, which was fine until my boss finished up what she was working on, one of my bosses, and then found me and started helping. And I already don't like this boss because she's a chatter, and I'm not a chatter, and I'm already like a little freaked out from people being around me, and I just don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to get my work done. So we're in the aisle, and thankfully she's not chatting with me because I'm not initiating a conversation or, honestly, responding to almost anything that she says. And then we're getting close to lunchtime, so she calls out, hey, the rest of the team, meet us down this aisle. We're going to finish this up and go to lunch. And I immediately alarm bells start going off in my head. No. We've already got 2 people working on one vehicle. That's 1 more person than this vehicle needs. We do not need more people down this aisle. And then next thing you know, there's 3 more dudes down the aisle. And we're all tripping over each other. And at this point, I'm just kind of like standing off to the side, waiting to get a clear path to the vehicle to grab another thing to put on a shelf, and I just don't have the space for it. And I'm just trying to like keep to myself and keep calm. And finally somebody else is like, well, it's really claustrophobic in the aisle with this many people. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of freaking out, guys. And then like my boss is like, well, maybe you could, well, no, because we're almost done. Well, maybe you could go, no, because we're going to go to lunch. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I go, I want to finish the vehicle and I want to go to lunch. Let's just be done. Like, I can handle it. Like, just finish. She's like, well, no, you could do this instead. I was like, let's just finish the vehicle. Stop. Just stop. And so then we go to lunch, and I kind of sequester myself, and I recover a little bit, and then we get back from lunch, and like the second we get back from lunch, she's like, hey, we're going to do a push party back in seasonal. One of the most crowded areas in the store, because for whatever reason, people are just high on Halloween vibes. So there's always people walking through with carts, and it's never like a single person. It's always like 2 women shopping Halloween so they can both gossip about whatever there is, or it's a mom and their kid, and then they're going to fight over what's in the area. It's never just a person shopping Halloween, and you always get somebody who goes, I can't believe you got Halloween stuff already. Can you believe it? I don't care. Shut up. Go away. It's not funny and nobody likes you. But then the flip side is the whole store is going to get involved in this. We're going to do what we call a push party. Everybody's going to push Halloween. So we've got 3 vehicles on the floor that are a mess. They're not organized. Nobody's got any kind of plan in any sort of way. And it's my team of like 5 people with like 6 additional people on top of it. And again, somebody makes the comment of like, wow, it's really crowded back here. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of freaking out, guys. And then because I kind of am freaking out, everybody turns their attention, everybody turns their attention to me, and everybody's got a suggestion, and everybody knows what to do about it. And I literally looked like one guy in the face, and I was just, how about you just stop talking to me? And he went, okay. And then left me alone from there on out. But like, it's the closest I've ever come to like having an actual panic attack. And I didn't know that was a thing that could happen to me. Like, I've never had something like that happen before. I've been in cramped, confined spaces with people before. I've gone to theme parks fairly often. I went to Disney and Universal shortly after COVID-19. And admittedly, I expect those areas to be, like, really packed and really condensed. But this was just too much for me. It was just too much of an overload. I couldn't help it. I couldn't like manage it. Like afterwards, like in the couple of days that followed the little freak out that I had, I was like, you know what? I should have just gone to the bathroom. I should have just said, screw it. And I should have gone and like hid in the bathroom for like 30 minutes and nobody would have cared. And honestly, probably nobody would have given a crap at all. And I could have just calmed down and like read on my phone and come back a little bit saner. So in the future, that's what I plan to do. But I didn't know that was a thing. Like I didn't know that could happen to me, and that was kind of terrifying. I work kind of hard to be who I am, and especially like at work, where you've got so many different people that you have to navigate between your coworkers and your bosses, and then guests, customer shopping in your store, and you kind of have to custom tailor every experience, and it just gets to be a lot. And to reach a point where the best analogy I found was like, I felt like I was in a car where the pedal was like nailed to the floor and the speed was just picking up, going downhill, and the steering wheel was out and the brakes were off. And I was just kind of like strapped in, like, I guess I'm going down with it. There was no thought process there. There was no sense of control at all. And like the few people that I did like tell, like, stop interacting with me, just stop talking to me. I did apologize to them in like the next couple of days. Like, hey, I'm sorry that happened. I've never had that happen before. And I did my best to keep it under control, but I'm sorry that it got to that point. It certainly wasn't anything personal, like specifically at you. It was just everything and everybody. And everybody was very gracious. Two of the people that I spoke to were actually like, I kind of have much the same thing. So if you ever need like backup, like you let me know and I've got you, man. Which is super sweet. And I really appreciate that. But that was a thing that I didn't know was a part of me, like, to be quite honest. And so to have that new sense of uncertainty in me, where apparently I can break down at any time. And then you have this experience with Walmart where I've been, because I've still been like working as well. So it's not like I've gotten the physical relaxation to recover from the plasma situation. So I typically go to work, leave work, go and have my plasma drain, and then I come home, shower, eat, do all that kind of stuff. And it's physically exhausting. And so to be dealing with all of that physically at the same time, and then suddenly finding like I'm unraveling up top a little bit, or it feels like I'm unraveling up top a little bit, was just a whole nother layer of crap added onto it. And then in the background at all times, I've got, of course, the breakdown voice in my head going, you've got to produce an episode, man. Thursday's coming up, my man. We got to get one. And I think a lot of it was just all of this stuff had piled up in my head and on me. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And like the real trick of it is that like when I decided to start selling the plasma, part of that reason is because work had been really under scheduling me. Like they'd been giving me like 30 to, if I'm lucky, a 35-hour work week, which again, I can live off of, but it's not enough to do anything else. There's no pressure release there. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll focus on breakdown a lot more. Like I'll keep writing scripts. I've got like 4 episodes written that my hope was to put them up on the Patreon page. And I would just do basically a series on Patreon that would be a Patreon exclusive while doing a series that was going up on the podcast and on YouTube at the same time. And then when I would finish whatever was currently going on YouTube, I would then start to upload the Patreon series. And I could then continue to produce specifically for Patreon, and then anything that was on there would then drop weeks later, and we would just keep cycling like that. People would basically get early access to series on Patreon, and then weeks later they would drop on YouTube, to try and encourage people to use that function more than use the podcast or YouTube. And it just reached a point where I just couldn't. Where just writing and producing an episode of Breakdown was taking so much out of me, and draining so much of my drive that I just couldn't. Like, I would get down to the easy stuff for breakdowns, where it's like all I got to do is sit down this afternoon and save a bunch of Aquaman comic images, and then like cut the pages in half, right? So then I can edit them into the episodes later. And I just didn't care. I just couldn't. Like, finishing those last several Aquaman episodes was really a slog of discipline and just forcing myself to crawl to the finish line. That last episode with the Borgio Boulakis character, I'd originally, when I came up with the idea, I planned to do a lot more video stuff with the character. I wanted to go to like more locations and shoot like I was actually exploring, and I wanted the episode to be more of a conversation between myself and Borgio, where Borgio shows up and he's into the Atlantis thing. And then I look like I'm an expert because I've been reading all of these Aquaman comics. And then the big reveal at the end was going to be, oh, guess what? They're comic books the whole time, as opposed to anything real like that. And then Borgio would get upset and like leave. And I like the gag. I do like the gag. Ancient Aliens drives me insane. I low-key hate the program. But it just got to the point where the deadline was coming up. I had like 4 days to shoot whatever I was going to shoot. Dress up like Borgio, shoot it, finish the script, record, edit, and upload. And I just knew that I didn't have time to do more than that without taking more time. And when you're that tired and you're already that like checked out, you don't want to. So I sat down and I got like 70% of the way through the script, and then we had a real bad and like I got 70% of the way through the script. I just needed to like finalize it and do finishing touches, so I just left the file open on my computer and I laid down to take a nap because I was tired. And then between napping and waking up, we had a huge electrical storm. My computer automatically rebooted during my nap, and it wiped away all of the changes that I had already made to the file for the final episode in terms of the script. So then I had to sit down that night and rewrite basically all the stuff that I had previously written, getting me to the point where the episode was finished again, because the deadline's there. You know, I have a hard deadline Thursday. And short of missing that original release for Aquaman, I've went like a year and a half without missing missing a planned miss. You know, other than skip weeks that I've announced, hey, there's going to be a skip week. I've hit every other deadline. So that was really frustrating. But I did get the episode out. I do like a lot of the commentary on it. I always have had this thing with projects, even when I was working and making my own comic books. I've always had this thing where when I get to like the end stage of a product, but before I finish it, I just lose all interest. When I was writing and drawing my own comics, I would get to the last like 4 pages of the comic book and I would just stop caring about working on it. My brain's like, we're close enough to the finish line. We can live with this. And then and again, it was a painful slog to get through it, and forcing myself to get through it would then necessitate taking a break from working on it, which would then, it feels like it would put me behind. I don't know where this comes from. I don't know why this happens. It has happened with almost every long series of breakdown episodes that I've done. When I get to the final couple episodes, my brain has just checked the hell out and I'm ready to be finished with it, and I don't know what it is. That's the reason the string of episodes on Fantastic Four Reborn, not Fantastic Four Reborn, I'm sorry, the Fantastic Four Volume 3, that's why there's no wrap-up episode for that book. Because by the time I finished the book, I was so emotionally and intellectually checked out, I just didn't care anymore. I just wanted out. And so I skipped it. And I got one angry email that was like, how dare you? And that has stuck with me ever since. And I was like, okay, every long series will get a wrap-up episode. Even if I have to pull myself through it, kicking and screaming, we will get a wrap-up episode. So we got one for Aquaman. I'm happy to have gotten it through. I'm happy to have hit the mark that I'd wanted to hit. You know, we got through Jeff Johns' run. It was a blast the whole time. Even if it did kind of end on a low note, in my opinion, with the Seven Seas plotline. But overall, solid comic book. Thoroughly enjoyed my time spent exploring that corner of the DC universe. And it was fun. I did end up reading a whole bunch of stuff related to the Forever Evil event. I came this close to doing like a spin-off series covering probably at least the Forever Evil miniseries and maybe some of the tie-in stuff, because I was like, well, I really liked the Black Manta tie-in, right? And if this is setting up Black Manta specifically for his role in Forever Evil, well, then I'll look at the other main characters who appear in Forever Evil and I'll read their one-shots. So I read through all of those online, and other than the Lex Luthor one, they have almost nothing to do with Forever Evil at all. There's almost no setup or payoff for the rest of the cast members. Other than for, I think it was Justice League. I still have the note. Justice League issue, Justice League of America issue 7.4 is the Black Adam Villains Month tie-in issue. And that single issue of Justice League of America is pretty much almost exactly the Black Adam movie that got made, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which just kind of amazed me. That, like, literally, it's almost copy and pasted, lifted from the comic book to the movie screen, other than a couple small details, which, again, just surprised me. Again, how much Jeff Johns has shaped the DC movies, and I don't think anybody really pays attention to it at all. It's kind of amazing. Like, he's such a quiet power player when you're just a movie geek. And I don't think comic fan, when you talk about these movies, you're talking about Zack Snyder, James Gunn, or Kevin Feige over at Marvel. Nobody talks about Jeff Johns and the role that he's playing in shaping these films, which, again, just boggles my mind. But anyways, I have been taking a break the past couple of days from the show. I did start working on a new Gundam build, a high-grade Gundam Aerial from the new series Mobile Suit Gundam Witch from Mercury, which I have not even seen. I watched like the first 2 episodes, I think, and that's all I've seen so far. I just don't watch stuff anymore. But it's been nice getting to sit down and work my way through a Gundam again. I've been buying some Transformer toys lately, now that I've got access to a little bit of money again, and that's been a blast. I grew up on Transformers. I've got a lot of love for them, even if I don't necessarily love like all the current stuff that's ongoing, and I think the toys are ridiculously, stupidly expensive. But yeah, I just bought a Bombshell figure the other day from work, and in the like 2 days that I've owned it, I've transformed it like back and forth like 5 or 6 times, because it's a really, because it's a really simple transformation, and I can just do it kind of like mindlessly with just like my fingers, like barely even looking at the figure, and I just transform and I go, oh, it's a neat paperweight. Put it down, and then a couple hours I'll come back and turn it back into a robot. I'm like, I'm a robot. And then a couple hours I'll walk over and I'll transform it back. It's just weird but fun. Very mindless for me. I have gotten caught up on a lot of my comics recently, just trying to get caught up on stuff that I was months behind on, or new books that I had an interest in but couldn't afford to read. A lot of good stuff coming out from DC right now. Like, I've been reading a couple of DC books, a couple of indie books that are really good. I have been keeping up with the Contest of Chaos. I do intend to do a Contest of Chaos episode. I had hoped to do one like halfway through and just kind of comment on like the first round of books, and then do a second episode that would comment on the back half of it as they were still coming out, and it just never got there. Again, I was just so tired. I just couldn't care. So there will probably be like a commentary after the whole thing wraps up. I'll do like a mini episode on it, and that should be fun. It's definitely a mixed bag of events. On the one hand, it's been as bad as I thought it would be, but there have been bright spots of like, oh, that was a cool concept. That was a cool issue. I really liked that idea, or, such and such. And that's always good. I do wish in general they were better. But for the most part, I've still been enjoying the event. I still like the idea of it, and I'm interested to see where it's going to go. The new Black Panther run is really good. This is kind of the world building that I've wanted out of a Black Panther comic since Ta-Nehisi Coast's first volume ended. The idea of T'Challa and the Black Panther as like an outlaw vigilante within his own country, getting to know more of like the landscape of Wakanda and the people of Wakanda, because I don't think Black Panther comics typically do a very good job of showing you those things, because they are focused specifically on T'Challa, right? You're looking at the adventures of the king as he trots the globe and creates intergalactic empires accidentally. And so getting to meet more people who live and breathe and who make up Wakanda is really fascinating. And it's something that I've wanted the Black Panther comics to do for a long time. So reading this latest volume, it feels like they're finally doing that. And I just think that's fantastic. The new Incredible Hulk run is slow, but very good. Author Philip Johnson Kennedy? I don't remember. One of those two names. Has been a very slow burn, but it's definitely leaning into like the horror elements of the Hulk, which really echoes Al Ewing's The Immortal Hulk run with oh my god, how could I forget Joe Bennett on artwork. Right at the end of the run, Joe Bennett got into some political stuff that would have gotten him fired from the book if they weren't wrapping up the run already. But you know, his role in the book has kind of been downplayed historically. But I mean, he's there for the majority of the run. His visuals make the run, to be quite honest. I do think Al Ewing's the main mind behind it, and he is the one that I will give the most credit for having such an interesting run on the Incredible Hulk. I'm sorry, the Immortal Hulk. Again, I don't own a lot of Hulk comics. I've been buying on and off ever since the World War Hulk plotline, which used to be my favorite Hulk plotline of all. I do think Immortal Hulk probably stole the title. I think that's probably my single favorite chunk of Hulk comics that I've read in the past. God, 20 years? Jeez. And I do think that Johnson's doing a pretty good job tapping into that same energy and projecting that same kind of character. That's been a lot of fun for me. I've been getting caught up on the Moon Knight run by Jed MacKay. I had been buying the current Dan Slott Spider-Man comic for the end of the Spider-Verse stuff. And I do think like the Spider-Verse comic events have gone from like the first one, super good, really loved it. Spider-Geddon, don't enjoy it almost at all. And now this one, the end of the Spider-Verse, I don't care. I didn't really like it, to be quite honest. They just feel less and less interesting as they go on. And part of that's because both Spider-Geddon and the last Spider-Verse weren't really Spider-Man stories. Like, don't get me wrong, Peter Parker was there, and the mythology that has spun out of him plays the central role. But in Spider-Geddon, the real lead character was Miles Morales, but the whole narrative was still built around Peter, and it just felt so mismatched. The gears didn't line up for it to actually work as an event. And then with the latest one, Silk was the big lead hero who ended up saving the day, but she had to go through all the gears that are Peter Parker to get there. And it just didn't work for me. But at the end of the event, Spider-Man's sidekick, Spider-Boy, was brought back to life, and Spider-Boy is not a character who existed previously, and I kind of thought that he was just going to become like a steady feature of Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man. He would just be a new cast member, and Slott would spend, however long exploring the character. Well, like, apparently Marvel has more faith in it than that because they are spinning Spider-Boy off into his own ongoing series written by Dan Slott, which is a bold move for such a new character. But I'm always down for a brand new character and a new concept. I do like the dual responsibility, the conflict of responsibility that comes from having a kid with superpowers who's like, look, I'm going to be a superhero whether you want me to or not. You can either superhero with me and help keep me out of trouble and keep me safe, or you can just ignore me and I'm going to do it anyways, and then if something bad happens to me, something bad happens to me. And Peter's not going to let that happen. Are you crazy? He's Spider-Man. And so I think that's a really fascinating conflict of interests. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll read the Spider-Boy ongoing when it comes out, but that means picking up all the issues of Spider-Man that I had missed between the end of Spider-Verse and the start of Spider-Boy. And that took a minute. Finding issue 8, the second appearance of Spider-Boy, was the most difficult part, but I finally had some side money that I could get it off eBay. I was missing one issue from the 1997 volume of Kazar. Got that off eBay recently, so those two series are nicely finished. Haven't finished rereading Kazar yet. I've owned this collection once before, but I'm looking forward to reading it. I've been reading just a handful of weird books that I've picked up at like dollar sales and stuff like that. One of them actually, I'm probably going to do like a two-part 2-part episode on, because it's just still kind of rolling around in my head. I've really been using a lot of my time off to just watch movies, because it's the best way for me to, on the one hand, shut off the voice of responsibility, but still like engage my brain. So I finally watched Edgar Wright's The Last Night in Soho, which I loved. I've loved everything else that I've watched by Edgar Wright. I knew I was going to like this movie. It was just a matter of getting around to watching it, and I finally did, and I did love it. I do not do a lot of horror movies, and this does lean more like psychological horror than horror, but I loved everything about it. I loved the kind of twist that it had towards the end. I loved the presentation of it. I loved the vibes. I'm not even a big 60s music guy at all, but I think the way that Edgar Wright uses music to enhance his stories and uses his stories to connect you with the music, that I think is the thing that he does the most special in his directing, where you go, I don't care about this song, but this movie makes me care about the song because this is what's going on in the context of the film that gives it meaning, where previously to me it was just a song. I think that's amazing. So I watched Last Night in Soho. I went and saw the new Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem. That was a lot of fun. It is not my favorite Ninja Turtles movie. I still think that the first live action is chef's kiss, the best Ninja Turtles movie in terms of capturing the feel of the characters and still delivering on a narrative that doesn't feel stupid. And I feel like every other Turtles film after that has just been like, this is stupid and we get it. Like, they're Ninja Turtles, guys. And maybe it is, but I don't care. I would rather you treat it seriously, because if those characters existed, they would be that way. I do like the vibes of the new movie. The thing that kind of amazed me the most is the character animation is ugly. Every character in the movie, except for the 4 turtles, looks weird and uncomfortable and ugly and freakish. Like, even human characters look like mutants just because their faces are all like these weird, uneven, sharp angles the entire time. And on the one hand, the designer in me absolutely hates it because it is not what I would design a character to look like. But on the other hand, I do appreciate it because it does kind of lend it that air of unpolishedness. The Ninja Turtles originally started out as a independent comic. And so I do think it captures that kind of indie vibe in terms of it does not look like a finished product from a billion-dollar company that owns the rights to these characters. It looks like a bunch of characters scribbled in a teenager's notebook and then put on the big screen. And I think that's really cool. I think that fits the vibe that they were going for really well. I do have some troubles with the sense of humor because it very much has that Seth Rogen-y improv feel, and that's what Seth Rogen does. That's what he's known for, I would argue. But those movies don't stick with me at all. I think about almost any movie where you imagine the script is just here's a couple written lines of dialogue, here's the end goal of the scene, and then in the middle it just says improv in big red crayon. Those movies don't stick with me. They don't have memorable lines. They aren't notable. Nothing about it feels well crafted. It just feels haphazard. And so there's a degree of that in this movie where I was just kind of sitting there I'm not going to remember 90% of this movie because it's just crap that 6 people in a booth threw at the wall and went, I hope this sticks. And it's the funniest thing we came up with, as opposed to somebody sitting down in a room and going, this is the funniest joke I can think of. And, I'm not going to say that every well-scripted movie is always funny or is always a well-executed thing. Sometimes they're just bad movies. But I would argue, I think you have more success more often than not coming up with a well-written joke than you do just being hey, make a joke, funny man. Nobody ever makes funny jokes when you tell them to make a funny joke. But I did like the vibe that the actors all had as the Ninja Turtles. They very much felt like young, immature teenagers. They acted really well. I liked that they threw in as many mutants as they could. Because let's face it, that's part of the fun of the Ninja Turtles is all these weird freak mutants. I would complain that most of them are just a name and a design. Most of them have no personality whatsoever for the most part. And it feels weird to have so many characters that feel like throwaways then be acted by like big name actors. Just, oh, you got John Cena for this character and he does nothing. Great. You got Rose Byrne as this character and she does nothing. I will give you props for, Jackie Chan as Master Splinter. Spot on. Amazing. Good job. Ice Cube as Superfly, again, worked really well. But yeah, do I have problems with it? Absolutely. Did I have a blast with it, though? Also, absolutely. And I'm glad that I went to see it. It already had made it to streaming by the time I went to a theater to see it, but that's fine. I do like the movie-going experience. I did see by myself, unfortunately, because it was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing and my wife didn't want to go. But that's fine. I still had a good time with it, and I can't complain about that at all. But yeah, otherwise, I've just been trying to kind of play catch up and get back into a non-exhausted headspace. I've had a couple of my friends ask me, like, well, how long are you going to sell your plasma for? Like, when does that stop? And I don't honestly know. We are going into Q4 at work, and that was kind of the thing that got me, was like, oh, right when I start supplementing my income is when work starts scheduling me more often, so then I can't focus on breakdown as easily. That's cool. Great job, everybody. And so I put in, after this episode goes up, I will work one more day, and then I've actually got 6 days off from work. I'd requested 4 days off, because that's basically what I could afford with my vacation time. And then work was like, how about we give you 2 additional days at the beginning and the end? And we'll only have to pay you for so many days. And I was like, it's not helpful. That's not how much money I had budgeted for, guys. So that's going to be rough. Thankfully, I'm selling my blood, right, to make up for it. But yeah, my hope is to take a couple more days off of just relaxing and chilling. I've got some computer crap that I want to do that will hopefully help break down in the long run. They just take time, and I do not have an easy time with tech stuff. But my hope is to take another day or two to kind of get my crap together, and then I will start producing whatever the next couple of episodes are. Because next week will be a skip week, and the week after that we come back to something. As far as what I would like to do, I did get my friend and longtime supporter of the show, Darrell, gifted me with this really nice Canon EOS 7 camera. That's what I filmed some of the Giorgio Boulakis like outdoor stuff with, and I got some great weird looks from my neighbors. But I've been trying to learn how to use the camera. I do think that the quality that it can capture is better than my little crappy webcam, but the camera also like shuts off after a certain period of time. I don't think I can use it to record full episodes of the podcast. I could probably do shorts, or I could probably record in like increments, but I just need to do more experimentation to figure out how long those increments are, how does the quality come out, how can I position it so that it works. So we'll see. It's just something that takes time and poking around with it. And then one of the other things that happened was I used to do a lot of my podcast work on my laptop, which you can't see it, but it's in pieces over there because my laptop took a crap on me. And I got in contact with one of my best friends, Dan, who is a tech guy, and I was like, hey, here's what's going on with my laptop. What can I do to fix it? And he's like, I don't think you can. Best thing you can do is remove your hard drive, put it in an external hard drive case, and then access what information you can, pull whatever information from it you can, and then you can, essentially use it as a new external. And I went, that sounds great. Just, I don't have money for that yet. Well, I got a nice external case for my hard drive. So I pulled that out of my laptop, put it in my external, plugged the external into the computer I'm currently using for the show, and I can't access any information on it. I'm sure there's a solution to that. I don't know what it is. It means putting in a call to Dan and spending an afternoon chatting with him, figuring out computer stuff that I just don't want to do. But I'm hoping to do that on my vacation as well. So that way, at the very least, my hope is that I can get things off of it. Between videos, my music collection, like all of my music collection is on that hard drive. I am so sick of the music that I have on my phone. You have no idea. And I listen to music for like 4 hours at my job a day, and it's just the same music over and over now, and I'm tired of it, everyone. So I would like to get my music off there. But then the real trick for me is I've got the majority of my old breakdown scripts are on there. Like, losing the episodes doesn't really kill me too much because I could re-download those from Libsyn, which is my host for the podcast. I could re-download those relatively easily. But I've been playing with the idea of re-uploading older episodes to YouTube, but in like the video format. The trick is I either need to watch those episodes and recreate the script so that I can re-record myself doing the talking parts and then work in the comic pages, or I need to come up with some kind of interstitial of me to do for the long parts where I'm doing critiques and breakdowns of the actual comic itself. Getting the comic pages, not that difficult. Editing those over the existing audio where I'm talking about those pages specifically, not that big of a deal. Not having anything for me sitting there talking, and I suppose I could just use a still image of me being like, and then I just do that for, 10 minutes at a time, but that feels really creepy and weird, and it's still not like, that's not a produced episode to me. That's still half-assing it, and if I'm gonna ass it at all, I'm gonna whole ass it, damn it. So I would like to at the very least get my scripts back, because if I get the scripts back, I can probably relatively easily do like an old episode produced a week or every 2 weeks or something like that. Maybe take a week to record and then a week to edit while still doing newer episodes, and I think I would be fine, but I can't do it without the old scripts. And I'm not going to take the time to rewatch all of my old episodes and type up the scripts again, and I'm not going to do that. But yeah, so I got to play around with my hard drive and figure that stuff out. And that's kind of all the big stuff. I think that covers all the big stuff. The only other weird, frustrating thing that happened to me was I tried to go to Dunkin Donuts, and Dunkin Donuts sucks. Whole thing was stupid. And again, it was like right after the tire thing where I was already like frustrated at Walmart for screwing, not screwing me, but not helping me either. Like, nobody at Walmart cared to help me out and like catch me and be like, hey man, before you leave, let me get your tires. You're going to need them. Nothing like that. And then I go to, like, the next time I got paid, I've wanted donuts for like 4 weeks. Don't know why. I've just been wanting donuts. And it's one of those things that I don't normally let myself get because I'm a big fat guy already and I don't really need more donuts and I don't have the money for more donuts. Like, they are stupidly expensive for what they are and how long they last. But I wanted donuts. And I'd finally had enough. It's like, I'm getting donuts. So I figure I'm going to go to Dunkin'. I'm going to get a half dozen donuts. I walk in. They have this nice French-style cafe display case with all of their donuts inside. So I'm surveying what they have, making my plan. Here's what I'll get. I'm getting 6 donuts. Here's the plan. And then I go to order them. You don't tell a person what donuts you want anymore. They've got a touch screen, and that touch screen has a list of all the donuts that they want, and a little picture next to them with the donut. And then you plus or minus however many donuts you want. The touch screen displays more donuts than are in the glass case. So I go, okay, maybe they have like more donuts in the back or like around a corner that I can't see, that like they just can't fit in the case, but they have access to. That's a really cool idea. I like that. Beautiful. So I get a Boston cream and 2 maple frosted, which are not in the case, but are on the menu. And then I proceed to order some regular stuff. The receipt prints. Guy comes up, rips off the receipt, looks at it and goes, hey man, we don't have any Boston cream. And I go, well, what do you mean? You know what I mean? He goes, we've only got what we've got in the case. And I go, well, then why could I purchase a Boston cream? And he goes, I don't know, man. That's just the way it works. We only have what we have in the case. And again, I work in a retail establishment. I understand this is not this man's system. He did not design this computer program. He did not put it in place. He doesn't even manage the computer system. He just hands dumb fat idiots like me the donuts. But still, that's not helpful. Do you want to replace it? Well, yeah, I paid for 6 donuts. I want to replace it. I'm getting 6 donuts. You better believe I'm getting 6 donuts. I'm going to eat 4 of them on the way home. So we get my donuts. We get to the maple frosties. Those don't exist either, so I get 2 other donuts. He hands me my donuts, and I've been waiting for this because that's when I go, man, I know it's not your fault, but like, I got to tell you, that's a really terrible like computer system. Like, why doesn't it like gray out the donuts that you don't have, or like put a big X over them or something like that where you can't order it. Like the fact that I can order donuts that do not physically exist within your store at this time is stupid and frustrating. And it makes me look like an idiot. And he looks at me and he looks at the case and he looks at the beer and he's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Most people just order whatever we have in the case. I'm like, I understand that. But I just want you to understand that's a bad system. And then I left. Because there's nothing else he can do. There's nothing else I can do. And I ate 4 of those 6 donuts on my way home. Because that's what you do when you're a fat guy. And then I did write an email to Dunkin' Donuts just being like, your system sucks. Like, I know it's not that guy's fault, and I don't even blame him for... He's doing his job. They don't have him. I got it. It's fine. But that's stupid, guys. Like, and I get it that every company doesn't want to pay people any money, and nobody wants to do... And no corporate wants to pay anybody a wage that will actually let people live in this country. I get it. I'm a retail employee. Believe me, I get it. But the systems that you are replacing these people with need to function properly. Because guess what? The odds that I'm going to go to another Dunkin' Donuts now? 0. I already decided I'm probably never going to shop at a Walmart again. I was just like, you know what? I know Walmart doesn't need my $300. They're a $1 billion company with millions of people who shop at them. I will save up more blood money and I will go to Firestone or Pep Boys and we'll try them. Fine. So next time I want a maple frosted donut, I'm going to Publix, baby. Because you know what? I haven't had a bad experience with Publix before. They've got the donuts, or they don't have the donuts. They, at the very least, make it very clear, hey, what donuts we have on display, these are the only donuts available in the store. I can't order donuts that don't exist from Publix. You fools. So, that's what's been going on in my life, everybody. It's been a mixed bag, for sure. It has been nice getting out of Aquaman and just kind of chilling out, and I don't want this episode to go on too much longer. But it's been nice getting out of Aquaman and just reading comics and just chilling out and not worrying about whether they're interesting or what's the meaning behind them or looking up background information or anything like that. And don't get me wrong, I love doing all of that stuff, and I can already feel the desire in me grow. Like I said, I know for a fact one of the comics that I've been reading I'm going to cover on the show because it's just been rolling around in my head, and I'm like, what was this writer trying to do? What about this thing? What about that thing? This was really interesting. Like, I wish this was followed up on somewhere else. Like, it's got me. Like, you know, the stuff that I love that comics do to me as a reader, it's done to me as a reader. So I'm definitely feeling the desire to create coming back already, which is fantastic. That's exactly what I was hoping for with taking some time off. But yeah, again, I would just like to thank everybody who has been watching and interacting with the Aquaman episodes. It's been fantastic, and it's been fun more than anything. I typically interact with comics on a level that's a little bit more focused and in-depth than a lot of other people in my life who do talk about comic books or are interested in comic books at the very least. And so even if it's just for the Aquaman episodes, getting to interact with people who are like, Aquaman is my goddamn jam, and I love everything about this. Let's chat. That's been fantastic. I certainly never thought that I would find people, like when I was doing the Aquaman episodes, I'm like, this is not exactly one of the most popular characters DC has. Is anyone going to care other than me? And then to find people who actually cared and like the episodes and comment on the episodes has been fantastic. I've had a blast chatting with y'all on the YouTube page. My friend Jason has been the GOAT over on the Facebook page, liking and sharing almost every image that I have posted from the Aquaman comics over there. I just want to thank everybody. Again, I do put a stupid amount of work into this show, given that I'm a dude who just talks about comic books. I put quite a bit of time into producing each of these episodes, and to know that there are people out there who watch them and engage with them is fantastic. It's just heartwarming. It's the thing that makes me go, oh, well, when I'm about to have a nervous breakdown, calm down, you've still got a show to produce at the end of the week, even if it's not like the main thing that I'm worried about at the time. Like I said, I've had an absolute blast working on the show. I'm going to continue doing the show for as long as I'm able to, hopefully. I don't know if we're going to see a slowdown because of the whole blood thing. It just depends on whether I can acclimate to it or not. One of the things that I do hope to do once I get the new tires on my car, because I still haven't, but my hope, once I do get new tires on my car, is I want to put some of my money towards getting a forklift certification, because I already work with a bunch of equipment that's forklift adjacent, and I almost got a much better paying job with Staples that I think I would have gotten if I had been forklift certified. I've driven tractors before. Again, I work with all kinds of powered equipment at my current job, but I am not trained on a forklift, and I don't know how to use one. I'm willing to learn, but it costs money, and companies don't want to pay you if they don't have to pay you for it. I get it. But yeah, I want to get my forklift certification and basically reapply to Staples and see if I can't get that better paying job. Because if I can get the better paying job, then I will stop selling the blood because I won't need to. And hopefully I can go back to focusing on breakdown a little bit more again. I am unsure if I'm going to get back to the Patreon thing or not. I may just turn those episodes that I produced into regular episodes. It has honestly been probably a month since I last wrote one of them, so I don't really know if I still have the passion to continue doing that particular string of episodes that I was going to do. I may not. But yeah, when I make a decision that something's going to happen on that front, I'll definitely let everybody know. I don't think anything's going to happen for now. We do have a Patreon page. Nothing happens there. I was trying to post at least weekly updates as far as here's what I'm working on, here's where my headspace is. And I just couldn't keep up with that either. I just so tired and I just don't care. So the podcast and YouTube have been my main focus. I'm playing with a 20-sided die if you're wondering what my hand's doing. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. That's where my headspace has been at. I do feel better compared to where I've been in the past week to 2 weeks. We're recharging. We're getting there. It was just such an emotional setback to have the freak out at work, and then the Walmart thing happened, and to some degree the Dunkin Donuts thing. And that hasn't, again, it's such a stupid thing to get upset about, but still, don't sell me your maple frosteds if you don't have them. Well, all right, this has gone on long enough. Next week, like I said before, next week's going to be a skip week. We will not have a new episode of the show. The week after, we will return with something. I don't know what it's going to be yet. So it'll be a surprise for everybody, myself included. But yeah, look forward to it. Hopefully, we'll see you in 2 weeks with whatever the next thing is. Get some rest. Maybe the next thing will be the Contest of Chaos. It won't have wrapped up by then. This week, X-Men came out. Next week should be Avengers. Maybe it will have wrapped up. Who knows? Maybe it'll be Contest of Chaos. It'll probably be something different. That way I'm not under a rush to get the episode produced. And we will see y'all next time. Thank you, everybody. Again, love y'all. I wouldn't keep doing it without y'all. And we'll see you in a week.